And good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of One Park Radio. I'm Glenn. A bunch to do on the program today. Orioles off last night. They get back in action with a quick two-game set this evening, that is, when they host the Washington Nationals. Coming up in a few minutes, former big leaguer Kevin Frandsen will join the program. He's now the color analyst on MASN for the Nationals. Also coming up today, first fantasy football segment of the season. I was talking about it yesterday. I had this feeling. I just, out of nowhere last week, I did a mock draft. I'm like, I've got nothing. I'm bone dry on fantasy football. I have no idea how I feel about anything. So hopefully Joe Serpico, PressBox's own fantasy football analyst, can help us out. We'll also talk some Ravens after their preseason opener. Our buddy Dan Wilcox will join us. So that's all coming up on a Tuesday edition of the program. And speaking of fantasy football, my friends, you sick of those boring online fantasy football drafts? Well, change it up. And your league can have a fun, in-person fantasy draft party at Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Book your league's draft at Sports and Social today, and you can get a choice of all-you-can-eat entrees. All you can eat. Drinks and custom draft kits for the entire league. Each party also comes with a custom trophy for the winning team and a $75 gift card for the league commissioner. Book your fantasy draft today at livecasinohotel.com. That's livecasinohotel.com. Do it in person, not online. Some of that, by the way, as I was talking about with the folks down there, I said, wow, maybe I could try to convince one of my leagues to consider making that move. That doesn't seem so bad at all. So, yeah, that sounds pretty good if you want to sign up for that. All right, I don't really have a lot of things like off the top of my head today. There's not a lot of big stories. There was nothing. LOL. Yankees losing 12-2 to the White Sox last night. God bless them, man. God bless them. I got into it like almost an existential conversation at the gym yesterday with a buddy of mine about very specifically when we talk about the fact that no one is running away with anything in baseball. Should we be paying more attention to the teams that are playing well? Like, is it more important that you're playing well right now than it is that you have a good overall record? And my answer is, I have no earthly idea. And it's sort of what I said to him. I'm like, dude, we would have to go back and say, what are the I tried this with Buck Showalter a few weeks ago. What boxes do you want to check in order to feel like you have the best chance of winning the World Series? And, he had like theories, but he couldn't prove. It was just what he wanted and what he felt the difference was in the teams that obviously he had that were good, but not ultimately good enough to win a World Series. I don't know. The Rangers stumbled home. We're yay close to not making the playoffs whatsoever. I don't know what the answer is. My gut is you want to be a better defensive team than what the Orioles have been. That's one of my guts about how you want to go about winning a World Series. I also think you want to have a better bullpen than what the Orioles have had. It's something that people talk about all the time. When you get to the playoffs, starting pitching isn't quite as important. A lot of your innings is going to come from the bullpen. Don't say those words in Baltimore. There's more stress on the bullpen? Ugh. I don't have those answers. I don't. And I get it. The Rangers aren't every World Series winner. Every World Series winner has been different. Some of them have been the best teams in baseball throughout the season. This is we want to have answers right now, definitively one way or the other. We either want to be told, don't waste your money on playoff tickets because the team's not going to be any good, or spend all of your money on all of the playoff tickets because the team is going to be very good. I ain't got it in me. I don't have it in me. I'd like for them to be playing well because it makes me feel good. Like it's the Tommy Boy thing. It's the, guarantee fairy. But it's got to be your bull. Like everybody knows that. You can get a good look at my butcher by shoving my head up his ass, but it's got to be my bull. I can't. This is baseball. This is the way it works. The two other topics that have come up a good bit, and I have to be completely honest with you. A lot going on. Don't know if you all heard, I'm planning a big party on Saturday. By the way, if you're part of our crew and somehow you are more than welcome to come join me. I don't know who else does this, who hosts the show and says, come to my house. But I've said that a million times. If you're part of this, if I know you, if you've interacted with us, then message me, and you will be invited to my house, which is probably a mistake. But because of the nature of what we do, we don't have as many. I don't think Rick from Rice. By the way, I heard from Rick from Reisterstown on the radio 2 weeks ago. It was the wildest thing. I thought he was dead.
Well,
I was like, is this the same guy? And it definitely was. I don't remember what he brought up when he called in, but I was like, yep, that's Rick. I probably wouldn't give Rick the invite. Love you.
Wow.
Probably would. That'd be the cutoff right there.
What did he say?
What's that?
What did he say on?
No, it's not. I don't care about. You don't know Rick from Reisterstown.
No, do you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, I do.
Well, I was hoping I would meet him.
No, you weren't. No, you were not. Rick, I love you. We can talk off the air. I don't know. Maybe there'd be some bit there. That's the type of thing that, like, if I was a more dangerous or I wanted more attention, I would invite Rick from Reisterstown to my home and then try to turn it into content.
Mysterious figure.
But I just can't do it. I cannot do that.
Rick from Reisterstown.
Anyway, the moral of the story being, so I'm planning that, and
I think I have an uncle named Rick.
Does he live in Reisterstown?
Yeah. Or at least he used to. I don't know if he's still there.
I really hope. I really hope it's not the same one. So anyway, I'm doing that, and then straight shoot. I'm taking some classes this semester. Dumbest decision I've ever made.
Congratulations.
No. Stop it. Dumbest decision I've ever made.
I'll proofread all your papers.
Thanks. You might be writing them. And then on top of that, soccer season starts this week because, again, why not? It's not even halfway through August. Why not? And just to throw it all in, my sister is in labor this morning having a baby, and I got to help them out, which is lovely. I'm very happy for them. This is their first. They're very happy. It's the whole thing. Whatever. The moral of the story being, got a lot going on. So I've had a few people reach out asking me about two particular topics related to the Orioles that I've got to be honest with you, I haven't had the chance to fully immerse myself into. One being the announcement last week about the changes in season ticket plans and benefits for certain levels of being a season ticket holder, or I guess not a season ticket holder, but whatever you want to call it, a package holder. I have not personally been able to spend time jumping in on that. I've had a lot of different people reach out with like a lot of interesting, here's what I know about it, and I'm like, I haven't even been able to respond because I haven't had 5 minutes. I don't like it because how could anybody like it? There's nothing to like about it. The argument from teams is always, we have to have our pricing be on the level with other teams. We can't operate independently. I'm going to guess that whoever involved with the Orioles made these decisions is going to use that to back up their decision. Like, we need to get... Some of that is hogwash. It becomes a little bit of an honor among thieves. Well, if we all do this, then nobody can look like the bad guy. I have no... These are... So, like I think the one of them is taking out, like, cheaper beer. There's just no way that they can hide behind the idea that that's related to getting in line with the competition from other teams. I don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot to say. I don't like it. It, of course, came out on a Friday. Of course it did. Even though the Friday news dump isn't what it was once upon a time, and like things that come out on Fridays now, it's still the best day because you're hoping that people will just not be gathered to talk about things, and there are no, radio shows. That's what you're looking for when you do that. But Twitter does still exist, and it still exists on Saturday, so you can't kill these conversations. I will attempt to dive more into it at some point. My first blush is, yeah, it's awful. My second thought is, it's about to be expected. Like, this is the way the world works. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Third, a lot of people want to make things about, whenever a price rises, somebody wants to make it about politics. I absolutely have no doubt that there is no politician I have ever heard of that is actually personally concerned about how much it is that you're paying for something. They might say that, but they're not actually concerned about it. And fourth, my other thought here would be, it would be, whenever you do something like this, it's way more palatable, or it can be way more palatable, if you do it in a more forthcoming way. Don't just send an email. Have a spokesperson. It doesn't make it okay, but your messaging is important whenever you do something like this. And if you have a spokesperson who says, look, we've done the budgeting, and for where we want to go payroll-wise, this is what we think we have to do in order to make that profit. Then all of a sudden somebody says, well, that sounds like you're saying payroll's going up. Okay, I'm listening. And that might just be a bold-faced lie, but again, in the messaging, it helps. Last thought, as I always say, you are under no obligation to pay for these things. None. It's why you will never hear me yell or scream about attendance somewhere. Nobody is giving tickets away for free. And if they are, please call me. You will never, ever, ever, ever hear me talk about attendance as if anyone has any obligation to pay exorbitant prices to go to an event. I won't talk about it for the Orioles. I won't talk about it for the Ravens. I won't talk about it for college teams. I won't talk about it for concerts. You have no obligation to do this. Spare me the, then how's the team going to make any money? Spare me. You do not have, you can say no. I do it plenty. I really do. It doesn't mean I never go to games. But I've thought about becoming a season plan holder, and I've said it's not, I can't justify it. If they threw in the parking and they threw in, if they did, maybe, but I can't justify the expenses of this for my family. Can't do it. The games are on TV. I'm happy to watch them. So these are all it sucks, but you can just say, not doing it. It's the question always comes to, is there going to be a breaking point? Will the bubble burst at some point? And at this moment, it doesn't feel like it's going to. Like it feels like it has to. But teams have also been plenty content to say we'll downsize the stadiums in favor of having more of the people we want in them and less of the hoi polloi. And that sucks, but I don't think that's going to stop. This is a far bigger picture conversation. I think I'm going way deeper than, the Orioles raising some season plan prices. The other topic that I had a couple people ask me about yesterday, tonight is Faith Night for the Baltimore Orioles. Swell. I certainly am not offended by Faith Night. That's their call. They do lots of events throughout the course of the year. Obviously, the the embarrassing thought is that like they felt like they had to do it because they do Pride Night. Like this is not one versus these people are not like, well, if we're going to recognize them, we have to recognize their diametric enemies. Like these two have things. That's the part that like I worry about is that all of the people that were like, oh, I see you do Pride Night, but when are you going to do Religious Night? Like what the like,
They don't have
like
to
if you do
be-
Star Wars Night, you also don't have to do Captain Chesapeake Night. The two have nothing to do with each other. It's okay to just do some promotions. But I have no issue with them having Faith Night in the similar way. If everyone is welcome on Faith Night, if everyone feels like they can be included, then God, no pun intended.
whoa.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't know what Faith Night means. Like, if suddenly you said, we're going to have mandatory prayer time, that would be a problem. That don't work. Like, we have laws about those types of things. You can't do that. But, again, to my understanding, it's like after the game, they're doing some, post-game things. And I have no doubt, knowing the type of player that is on this team, as I said before, however you feel about it, these guys a lot of them are from Texas. Like, I think, like when you hear them doing commercials on the radio station, they're talking about shooting guns and going hunting and stuff like that. Like, that's what they're into. And so I think most of them, I think they've talked about them having like Bible studies and things like that. If that's what they're into, that's cool. Good for them. It does not hurt me in any way. Whatever you're into, if you're into My Little Pony, God bless you, right? Like, I don't care what you're into. That's awesome. Projecting it, forcing it upon someone, it's the exact same thing. It's like everybody's like, oh, you're going to force Pride Night on. No, not forcing anything. Believe it or not, you don't have to be gay when you go to Pride Night. It's crazy. Like, you're allowed to not be gay. They don't like say, all right, mandatory, you have to kiss a man now. It doesn't work that way. As long as it's inclusive for everybody, like, all good. All good. Now, the problem that I have been told is that perhaps this has not been presented in the most correct way, because there have been people that have said, well, what about my faith? Whether that's, I have been told that there does not appear to be much in the way of like inclusion for the Jewish faith. I have been told there's not been a lot that's been made for the faith, for much of anything else, that it seems more like it's Christian Faith Night than it is anything else. This is very difficult, man. And despite this not really being my thing, I'm always going to be inclined to give someone the benefit of the doubt and say they're trying. Now, if what's true, and again, I'm basing this just on anecdotal, things that have been passed along to me. If there have been Jewish groups that have reached out and said, hey, how are we involved with Faith Night? And the answer has been, you're not, that's a shame. Like, that's not okay. You got to do better than that. If the answer is, well, we were kind of leaving this open-ended and, if you would like to be involved, we'll try to figure out a way. That's a different conversation. But you do have to be careful about these things. And if ultimately the answer is it's Christian Faith Night, well, then just say that. Say it's Christian Faith Night. That's okay. That's totally okay. Again, as long as you're not saying, if you're Muslim, you're not welcome here, which I have no reason to think is the case. As long as you're not being exclusive or saying you're going to be uncomfortable. If somebody's simply uncomfortable because they're uncomfortable around the idea or the concept, it's probably not the game for them to go to. But if you're forcing something upon them, it's like I said, when somebody hangs a rainbow flag, you're not being forced to like salute it. You don't have to stand up and sing "It's Raining Men" or something like that before the game begins. That's not what it is. It's just a flag. And if they put up some sort of symbolism like that tonight, that's fine. As long as no one is being forced to stand up and participate. It's all good. I'm befuddled by the notion of it is performative outrage. It's like the Last Supper crap from the Olympics. We want to be offended. We're looking for a reason to be offended. So even if we have to make it up, we're going to make it up to try to find a reason to be offended. And again, if I end up being wrong, if somehow something is forced upon people, which I just cannot fathom, knowing what we know about the Orioles, then I would feel differently about that. But I don't think that's the case. I apologize. I wish I had more time to dive in onto these things. They're not for me. They're just things that have been brought to my attention over the course of the last couple of days, and so I'm giving you my very minimal knowledge of what it is that we're discussing. And if you've got something more direct to share with me, please, by all means, share it to me directly. At Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, glennclarkradio@gmail.com. Let me know, and I will do everything in my power to dive in a little bit more. Might not be today. I'm a little busy today, but I'll do my best to try to get on top of it. I'm also always going to be more concerned about the baseball. And that is part of the deal for me. Like, getting into fights about these other things, it just don't do it for me. Sorry. It's not what I'm interested in. All right, it is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I keep telling you, we're only like 2 days away. Today and tomorrow are your last days to get this print issue of PressBox. It's for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Then it's gone. Gone, Daddy, gone. The love is gone. By this Thursday, the new print issue of PressBox will have Kyle Hamilton on the cover. Bo Smolka is taking the reins for this month's cover story, detailing Kyle Hamilton's rise from the assumption that he was going to be a basketball player, the son of a basketball player, to becoming a truly all-world NFL safety. And his very interesting and compelling background, international flavor, obviously what happened that he fell in the draft and was sitting there for the Ravens. Bo Smolka dives into all of that in this month's cover story. That's coming this Thursday, the new print issue of PressBox featuring Kyle Hamilton on the cover. We're scheduled to be joined by Kevin Frandsen. We will do that. Let me grab a break, see if we can't square this away. We'll grab a break. We'll talk to him next, hopefully. If not, more of me, Glenn Clark Radio.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to the 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring locally sourced food at the Fresh Food Fest, a beer, wine, and spirits showcase, shopping, and fun for all ages. Check out the Maryland Corgi Cup, interactive kids corner, and more. It's the place to be in October. Visit maryland5star.us for tickets.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
There he is, Agent 00 Chicken. Nothing can keep him from Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Because right now, he can get a 3-piece world-famous chicken box for just $8 with a portion of each sale donated to a local charity. Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. Come to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. It's a real thriller. But it's only for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now, and on the cover, Glenn Clark and Stan the Fan Charles sit down for a sports conversation with Maryland Governor Wes Moore, discussing the Orioles and Ravens stadium leases, the future of horse racing in Maryland, and how his own football career at Johns Hopkins shaped him as a leader. This is also our annual travel issue with information about sports tourism opportunities in Maryland for your family to take advantage of throughout the summer. PressBox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. We're going to try to move the Nationals preview into the 11 a.m. hour, it looks like, and see if we can't do that. Maybe see if we can't move Joe up a few minutes, Griffin, just to sort of clear some space and some time and all that. I don't want to tell you how to do your job. You're over here and I'm over there. God, that's one of my favorite skits of all time. And apparently it was legitimate. It wasn't even that really happened. That's what I'm to understand. But anyway, the moral of the story being we got to move some things around. As Bob Haney likes to say, we will improvise and adapt. Okay, so I covered all that stuff that I wanted to cover. The only other thing that I had on my list, I got this from Corey, and it was very thoughtful. Corey sent this to me over the weekend. Said, Glenn, I know you probably didn't watch the preseason game. Correct, Corey. And I know that you have talked about the kickoff a little bit, but in watching it, I get the sense that it's just a... What are we doing?
We'll talk to Joe in 5 minutes.
Talk to Joe in 5 minutes. I get the sense that it's just a headache for everyone involved. I feel like it's one of those things that seemed cool when they announced it, but when we actually watch it, we realize it actually makes football more difficult to watch. And I feel like that's a problem for everyone involved. No one wants to have a rule book out at all times. There's enough things during the course of the game that make us throw our arms up in the air and say, what the hell is going on? Why add anything more to the sport? There's no way this play is going to be so exciting that everyone is going to decide they have to be in their seats for the kickoff. It just won't happen. I feel like they've gone very far out of their way, hit it in the name of player safety when it's actually about trying to appease the networks, and ultimately it's either A, much ado about nothing, or B, something that they're just going to rip up in a year, and never to be heard from again. We had this conversation. By the way, there was only one sports question at trivia last night. It was very easy, Griffin. It was extraordinary. I mean, if you missed these. 3-parter. Number 1, which U.S. swimmer has earned 14 Olympic medals, the most ever for a female swimmer?
I believe that would be Katie Ledecky.
Number 2, which WNBA player earned her 6th gold medal in basketball this year?
Was that Diana?
Number 3, which U.S. male sprinter won the first gold medal for the United States in the 100-meter sprint in 20 years?
I believe that would be Noah Lyles.
How easy was that?
Did anyone get them wrong? I would assume no.
I would like to hope that there was no one. Really frustrating when you're the sports guy. It's
maybe I am pretty good at trivia.
It's really frustrating when the sports question is, what's the name of the baseball team in Baltimore? Very frustrating.
Sounds like you could have used me last night, actually. Then.
So they had because there were no sports on last night. They had like an old a week NFL Network was on the TV, and they were showing, I don't know, one of the preseason games from the weekend, and the boys were talking about the kickoff, and I am very dismissive about the kickoff. I don't think it's interesting. I don't think it's compelling. I don't think it's exciting. I don't think it's any of those things. I'm with Corey, truth be told. It's annoying to me. The idea that there's now a play where I have to consult the internet every time it happens to remember what all of the levels of rules are. It's nonsense. Really, it's nonsense. What the line is between the idea that it's safer, and again, that part of it, I'm not opposed to. I really am not opposed to the idea of anything that we can do to try to make the game safer we want to do. Okay. There's something to be said for that. But yes, it also seems like, and it's like the extra point thing from a few years ago. We want to somehow make it so it's not a wasted play. We want to make it so that people have to watch the play because the networks don't want to turn around to their advertisers and say, when your commercials run, there's going to be excitement on either side. People aren't going to be able to just walk away for 10 minutes and then come back. They're going to want to watch the kickoff. They're going to want to watch the extra point. Well, the extra point thing ended a long time ago. It's not exciting. There's nothing that makes you stay. You do not have to stay in your seat for the extra point. Could it be missed? Maybe, once in a blue moon. But it's the difference in 1 point. Save for end-of-game circumstances, it's just not make or break whether you think you're going to get that 1 point. Nobody is making decisions based on having to watch the kickoff. It's more difficult than the college kickoff. That part is true. But it's not being missed at a percentage rate that is so high that you either A, have to feel like you have to stick around, nor is the 1 point in the first or second quarter so valuable that you have to be there. There is too much time remaining in the game for that 1 point to be viewed as so valuable to a fan. And the same thing about the kickoff. It's just not exciting enough. It's just a different kickoff. It's kind of interesting, but not nearly enough for me to say, I've got to be back. It's not making it like a 50-50 chance that there's going to be an explosive return. And by the way, we're not looking for explosive returns. The only thing is return touchdowns. Because nobody owns kick returners in fantasy. It is not a big deal to someone if the fifth wide receiver on the team had a 40-yard return. It's nice field position. You like that, but it's to watch the players you care about. You can't make the kickoff a more electric part of football. You just can't. Doing things in the name of safety, if it actually is safer. The Guardian Caps topic came up a lot this week, and I saw like 5 Colts players apparently all wore their Guardian.
Taylor did.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. They did a bit where they put like a swim cap over the Guardian cap. My God, you have so much on your head now. You have a helmet, a Guardian cap, and a swim cap all over your head. And that certainly makes it less weird, right? Like that. And in fairness, I didn't even really notice significantly the difference between those things. I bring that all up. I bring all of that up to say, if the Guardian cap, if the data really proves the Guardian cap is that significantly helpful, then my argument should be, why is it an option? Why is it a choice? Why is everyone not wearing the Guardian cap? I get it. Part of it is probably because the NFL is trying to figure out, like, the helmets have always looked cool. People want to buy helmets. We've done these player shows. Stay tuned. We've done these player shows over the years, and people bring out helmets to be signed. The helmets have kind of looked cool. The Guardian caps do not. But if they genuinely make the game safer Make all of the players wear them. I'm all for anything that involves player safety. But the kickoff thing and related to now I have to watch it, no. And it's a headache for me to have to think through all the scenarios of, all right, so if it lands here, this is, if it lands there, that's the. And as we talked about I can't remember who we had on that we were talking about it with. The opinion was that, I think was it Scott Pioli that we talked about it with? The opinion was that it might very well just end up defaulting to all the hell with it, just go boot it out of the end zone and we'll defend the 30-yard line. Like, it's just not, it's not worth, there's not enough to be gained in like the small hope that you could run down and cover up. It's just not worth it.
Did you see the Mecole Hardman thing?
What was the Mecole?
So he was trying to down the ball in the end zone, and they ended up ruling it a safety because the ball bounced in the end zone, but then like the backspin rolled it back out to like the 1-yard line, and the ball was still live at that point, technically under these rules. So you have to touch it. So he was trying to do like the bit where like you're lining, like you stand out of bounds and touch the ball, and then it becomes like out of bounds. He was trying to touch and try to get a touchback.
That's a really bad rule.
And they ruled it a safety.
I would say that goes a step beyond just I don't care for the kickoff. I would say if that's really something we're doing in football, then blow it into the sun. Like, I mean, this is the fumble thing that there's 6 nerds on the internet that are like, oh, I want to be an a-hole, so I'll say the fumble through the end zone is a good rule. It's not. It's awful. Anything like that exists, blow it into the sun. If the ball bounces in the end zone, there's no world in which I'm the wrong guy. I'm the wrong guy for this. We are trying so hard, and somehow you end up making something most extreme elimination challenge instead of it being football. And I know it's the old man yelling at cloud. This isn't even football. It's not. It's not. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. The ball bounced in the end zone, you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're doing it. I just played it.
I don't want to. Okay, I don't want to spend. I'll look at it. No, we got to talk to Joe Serpico. We don't got to. I want to talk to Joe Serpico, but now you've annoyed me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I just wanted this to be. I wanted to be able to be indifferent about the. But if they're really creating new rules, then stop.
I DM'd it to you.
Stupid. All right, very good. Let's talk some fantasy football. I said I wanted to do this because I sat down and I did a mock fantasy draft last week. It was the first time I thought at all about fantasy, and I realized I got nothing. I have no takes. I have no strategy. I have no thought process. So let's see if our next guest can help us. He is PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst Joe Serpico. He is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Joe, good morning, man. How are you?
Glenn and Griffin, glad to talk to you guys. Chomping at the bit to get this NFL and, most importantly, fantasy football season started.
Joe, first of all, did I see a couple weeks ago that you have decided that you are going to you are going to finally pay off your debt to us?
If it's all right with you guys, I will make an appearance in studio the day of our draft and get this done so we can talk a little bit while we're there as well.
All right. This is taking a little while, Joe. This one's been a long time coming, man. So let's make sure we lock that up. Do we know what date that is? Do we have plans?
So is that going to be like the day after Labor Day, like we did last year?
Yeah. Do we know what the plan is for that?
So is that the 3rd of
I'm asking my producer. I was hoping that you had an answer.
Then September 3rd.
Go produce some show. You talk about it with them, with Joe and with Ken.
Okay.
And then we'll deal with it, all right?
Well, I know you don't want to do it before Labor Day, right? Like you don't want
I sure as hell do not want to do it before Labor Day.
All right, then we'll figure out one of those days, Joe.
All right, very good. Now, let's get into it, Joe. Why is everyone such a sell me on why I should be this much of a believer in Breece Hall?
Because he put up huge numbers last year, and it was quarterback play that was nowhere near as good. Now, we saw a lot of his numbers were inflated because of the number of checkdowns because of said quarterback play. And with Aaron Rodgers, you might not get the same number of checkdowns. But what I do think with Aaron Rodgers in the fold is we might get more touchdowns out of it just because, let's face it, that Jets offense was stinky, to say the least, last year. But then Breece Hall, let's face it, other than Garrett Wilson, who else on that offense is going to get the ball? I'm not buying into the Mike Williams edition. I know they got the rookie in the 3rd or 4th round that a lot of people are hyping up. But in my eyes, there's 2 people that need to have the ball, and it's Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. And with Hall, there's really no competition for touches, and that's obviously a big thing when we're talking fantasy football. Let's face it, the guy that's being drafted right around him is Bijan Robinson. I'd rather have Breece Hall than Bijan Robinson, and that's more because of who's behind him, and that being Tyler Algier adds a little bit more of a threat as a running back as to anybody that's on the Jets roster.
So interesting, though, that as you've been doing your mock drafts at PressBoxOnline.com, unlike other people who have Breece Hall legitimately in the top 3 or 4, you don't have him until 8th in your rankings.
Yeah, well, it all depends on your setting, but I'm definitely more leaning towards receivers. Yes, if I can escape with the 2 that I mentioned, unless you have the first pick, you're most likely not getting CMC. And then Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor, those 5 guys I feel comfortable taking in the first, the first round. But then after that, there are some diamonds in the rough this year. I think the running back dead zone was a thing a few years ago, but I think we've kind of adjusted to that a little bit. So wide receivers are, taking more of a precedent. I like all of the, let's go through the list, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love all those guys. I'd much rather build my team around those guys. And then, like I said, I can just find a few running backs in the later rounds since the dead zone no longer exists in my eyes.
All right, so go back to the running back thing. Who are those? If you are going wide receiver early, who are those guys that you're talking about that can still be impactful in obviously where are those guys second, third, fourth, fifth round?
One guy that I've been kind of targeting heavily is Kyron Williams. He's been a popular favorite.
He's really not a first-round pick.
He is going in the second round. He's around, depending on which site you're looking at, he's around picks 15, 16, 17, somewhere in that ballpark range. Which, just based on the way you just said it right there, it is surprising considering it's a guy who finishes running back 2 last year, second in the league in touches. Everybody seems to be scared of Blake Corum. I don't understand it. We've seen over the years that Sean McVay is loyal to somebody. Now, if he gets hurt, there's nothing you can do about that. But McVay has been very loyal to his running backs. And let's face it, I'd much rather have a guy like Kyron Williams who's going to get all the touches than, let's say, a Jahmyr Gibbs who is going higher than Kyron Williams who is sharing touches with David Montgomery. So, yeah, that's one of the guys. And then the other guy that I'm really heavily targeting in, let's say, the third or fourth rounds is James Cook. We saw once that Joe Brady became the offensive coordinator for the Bills last year. I mean, his usage and his fantasy production just exploded. He was basically the exclusive back in the playoffs for the Bills as well. So, yeah, they added Ray Davis in the draft, but I'm not really buying it. I think James Cook, what he offers you as a runner and as a pass catcher, makes him like an ideal target, whether it be your running back 1 or ideally a running back 2 with major upside.
All right, give me someone that's completely not on the radar that later on in drafts you'd say obviously everybody wants their handcuffs, but besides a handcuff, give me a running back that's because somebody asked me about a sleeper there that I'm like, I have no idea. Jonathan Brooks is the rookie that's going to get the attention, but I don't know that I like anything about Jonathan Brooks' situation. Give me somebody that's more of a sleeper at the running back position.
It's so funny you mentioned Jonathan Brooks because I'm going to go with his teammate, Chuba Hubbard.
Okay.
We've already heard that Jonathan Brooks is going to be out the first minimum of 3-4 weeks. So, you've already lost him for the first half of the first quarter of the season. And people always like to talk about how you need, upside in the later part of the season. Well, you need to win those first 4 games too. Then Chuba Hubbard's a guy who's going to, he beat out Miles Sanders for the job last year. And once he took over for that job, it was exclusively his. Miles Sanders barely got any work. And he got the most touches for NFL running back in the last 7 weeks of the season last year, which is crazy to think about when you think it's Chuba Hubbard. But that's a guy who in a minimum the first 4 weeks is going to get all the carries. And there's no saying that Jonathan Brooks is going to be instant starter when he gets back. It might take a few weeks to ramp up. Let's face it, ACL injuries usually take some time for that player to get up to speed. We saw last year with Javonte Williams, who's another guy that I'm kind of big on this year. ACL injury took a little bit for him to get back to full speed. So why not take the value of Chuba Hubbard, who's going outside the top 40 running backs and is going to be a starting running back to start the season?
He is Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst. He is with us here on GCR as we're having our first fantasy conversation of the year. Joe, let me go back because you listed all those wide receivers that you're very high on. The name that wasn't in that first group for you was the darling of fantasy football a year ago. That's, of course, Puka Nacua. now that, nobody's catching anyone by surprise anymore, what is Puka Nakua's fantasy value this season?
I'm avoiding Puka Nakua this year because I like the value that you get with Cooper Kupp. When Cooper Kupp is healthy, he's still the number one. Now, let's face it, he was banged up a lot last year, and that's why Puka was kind of thrusted in that role. Puka Nakua is going in the top, let's say, second round, maybe early third round, as opposed to Cooper Kupp. You can find him sometimes as late in the fourth or fifth round. That's the kind of value that I'm looking for. Let's face it, a couple of years ago when Cooper Kupp really exploded on the scene, that was around the same draft range that he was getting picked in. And again, we've already now know that Nakua is a little bit banged up now going into this season. And based on reports that I've seen, they are still running the offense through Cooper Kupp. So that's somebody that I want, way more at the value that he's getting at in the fourth or fifth round as somebody who could be the number two on his own team in the second round. I want a guy who's, a surefire number one if I'm picking in the first or second round.
What about the rookies? Where are you? It's a big group of rookies, right? And it's kind of all over the place because Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy that seems like he's getting the most attention. But, Keon Coleman is in a spot where why wouldn't he be the guy in Buffalo? Kind of walk me through, and obviously we can talk about Neighbors and Odunze. That first group of 5 or 6 rookies, where are you with what their actual value is?
I'm very high on Marvin Harrison, but I think everybody is, and that's just because, let's face it, there's nobody else in Arizona for Kyler Murray to get the ball to. So, and he's been, pronounced the best wide receiver to come out in several years. I'm very high on Malik Neighbors. You can see, I know it's preseason, I know it's hype videos that we're seeing online, but what you've seen from the guy so far is spectacular. Now, yes, he's a little bit banged up right now.
And he's still in a Daniel Jones offense. It's just very difficult for me to buy into that.
I agree. So I agree with that. But then if you look at all the vacated targets that are there, it's still a guy who can still get, and that's what it all said and does what matters. He's still going to get probably 100, 125 targets, maybe 150 targets, just because with Darren Waller gone, Wan'Dale Robinson's really his only other competition for receptions there. So I think Malik Neighbors is going to get peppered with targets. I think one that kind of is now going to move up the draft board based off of the recent injury news actually is Xavier Worthy. Now that a Hollywood Brown sounds like he's going to miss some significant time, especially since we also are still kind of in limbo what's going on with Rashee Rice. We don't know whether that suspension is going to come in the beginning, middle, end of the season.
But where is that, Joe? Because I got to be telling you, I have tried to play the game with Chiefs wide receivers post Tyreek Hill, and this is fallen flat every time. So where is the appropriate place? Because I hear everything you're saying, but where is the appropriate place? Remembering that we know who the actual alpha is going to be in Kansas City, and it's not going to be a wide receiver. Where is the appropriate place to consider Xavier Worthy?
I have him going. Well, now I got to probably readjust my rankings because of this. But I would say he's somewhere in your, let's say, so around 7 through 9. You're not overly spending on him. I still think, when all said and done, Rashee Rice is going to be the guy. I know we talked about him quite a bit last year, just because we kind of were. Is it going to be the guy? Is it going to be the guy? And then he became the guy. But yeah, again, going back to the suspension, that could, possibly change things here. But I still think it's his job moving forward. Xavier Worthy, he does give you, there's some temperament there. He is a really small guy. He can get thrown around a little bit when he's out there. So that's why I kind of like Rice a little bit more. But I do think that, if there's a pecking order, obviously, in Kansas City, it's Kelsey, without a doubt. Then I'm going Rice if playing. And then you got to go with Worthy, and then the rest of the guys, we saw what they're capable of last year. Let's just say that.
You didn't two names that you didn't mention in that group. I assume the Odunze problem is just there's so many now mouths to feed in Chicago that even if Caleb Williams is as good as somebody wants him to be, it's hard to imagine him jumping ahead of DJ Moore, maybe even jumping ahead of Keenan Allen at this point.
I agree with that totally. If it was two receivers ahead of him that were, your journeyman guys or even guys that are been number 2s for the past 4 or 5 years, okay, yeah, then I'm all in on Odunze. But because of the 2 guys that are ahead of him, DJ Moore was a top 5 receiver last year. Keenan Allen was a top 5 wide receiver when healthy last year. So yeah, I just because of so many mouths to feed, and I do think even the Bears running game is going to be a little bit better this year. I think they're going to be a solid team all around. I would much rather go with one of those top 2 guys than take Odunze, who's going in the same range as Xavier Worthy and the Keon Coleman's. And again, he's a number 3 when these guys that we're talking, the other guys are 2s at best.
And that's the Coleman one, the one to me is the most fascinating of all, because there's no Travis Kelce in Buffalo. Like, there is no one in the way. Their top target otherwise is like Khalil Shakir. To me, it's almost like I'm ready to be reckless about where I go. How can we look at Josh Allen as being the number 1 quarterback and not consider Keon Coleman until, like, I think I've seen him in like the 120 range in various rankings that I've been looking at.
Yeah, I think I'm slowly talking myself out of being Josh Allen being the number 1 receiver or number 1 quarterback.
By the way, we can have that conversation because I'm confused by that. That one to me makes zero. Someone else can make Josh Allen the first quarterback off the board. It will not be your pal.
I'm with you on that. I mean, my number 1 quarterback, and yeah, sure, I might be a little bit biased, but for me, it's Jalen Hurts. I mean, you add on Saquon Barkley, people are thinking that it's going to take away some of the rushing touchdowns from Hurts, and I might do that. No more tush-push as much. But I think the offense as a whole is just going to go crazy this year. So I really want Hurts as my number 1 quarterback. If I'm taking a quarterback that early, I tend to usually take ones in the later rounds. But, yeah, I'm all in on the fact that, Josh Allen has finished as QB1 the past 2 years. But let's face it, his receiving core is nowhere near as good as it's been those past 2 years with Gabe Davis gone. Stephon Diggs also out the window. Like, they're relying on, like you said, Khalil Shakir, and some people are saying that Curtis Samuel is going to be a thing just because he was a thing for the Panthers so many years ago in the same offense. I'm not buying that either. Of all of the receivers in Buffalo, yes, Keon Coleman makes the most sense, but he's also not as polished as some of the other rookie receivers, so I don't think he is going to put up necessarily the same reception numbers, but I do think he could be a factor in the red zone based off his size, big size.
Yeah. Going to the tight end, so has Sam Laporta officially overtaken Travis Kelce as the number 1 tight end, the number 1 target if you're targeting tight ends early?
For most people, yeah, that seems to be the case. So a lot of times you find them as 1A, 1B. They're basically ranked right next to each other. I have Laporta as I can't remember now if I have him as a number 3 or number 4. And that's just more because of course, Travis Kelce I'm a fan of, but I think I talked about this when we had you on, or when I was on with Ken a couple weeks ago. I'm all in on Mark Andrews for being tight end 1 again this year. And that being because of the usage. Even when Andrews got hurt last year, when Isaiah Likely stepped in, if you basically combine the 2 player stats combined throughout the season, they were tight end number 2. And I think that Andrews is still going to be the same. He's, let's face it, other than who was the wide receiver they just signed a couple weeks ago for the Ravens. There's really been nobody new
Russell
in there
Gage.
to kind of take. There you go. Yeah, Russell Gage. Like, that's obviously not a threat whatsoever to take any targets away from Andrews. It's Zay Flowers. You've got Odell Beckham's targets wide open. For me, it's Mark Andrews as number 1. Like I said, I think I have Laporta as 3, 4. If you want to talk tight end, who's I don't understand how it's still being this criminally underranked, but it's Evan Ingram. I mean, the guy led the league in targets and receptions at the position last year. He's going as tight end 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on which website you're on. And let's face it, he put up those huge numbers last year and only hit the end zone 4 times last year. I think there's some positive touchdown progression there. So give me Evan Ingram as the top 5 tight end, and I might be taking him over Sam Laporta. And I don't think just because the Lions, I think this is going to be the year we finally see Jameson Williams take off, and I think it's just going to be a little bit more balanced this year.
And Trey McBride too. I'm seeing him as like Fantasy Pros has as a top 3 tight end right now. Do you really see that as like his ceiling, or can he be even higher than that? And then and then throwing in Marvin Harrison Jr. with that as well. Is he worth the price that he's going at it as a wide receiver?
Like I said before, I do like Marvin Harrison this year. I think he's going to be a number 1 receiver right out of the gates, just because, like I said, there's no one else there for targets other than Trey McBride. When Trey McBride took over last year, I mean, there was no denying he was a top 5 fantasy tight end, and I have him inside my top 5 as well. I believe if I have it correctly, I have those. I believe I have Laporta or Ingram. Some kind of order between those 3 right there. But those now, with Harrison there, I don't think he's going to get as many targets as he did last year. But is he still a top 5 option? Yes. But if I'm not getting Evan Ingram as one of my top 5 guys, I'm kind of looking into the next tier of tight ends, which is your Dalton Kincaid. Call me crazy, but I'm back on the Kyle Pitts hype train. And if you're really looking for somebody a little bit later, really with some upside, Brock Bowers, I think, is a guy who you can probably get in, let's say, 9th, 10th round that you can go with as a tight end.
I don't mind that, but again, there's no quarterback. They did the bit in Vegas where, like, we're just going to have a team that doesn't have a quarterback, and that makes it very difficult for me to buy into any of those guys whatsoever. All right, any other sleeper-type names? Wide receiver, anybody else that's in that, hey, just have this name on your radar, be monitoring it in the weeks to come?
I may have mentioned him the last time I was with Ken as well, but Josh Palmer, receiver for the Chargers. Somebody out that way has got to catch passes. Everybody says that Greg Roman doesn't, we know it full well here in Baltimore. Yes, they run the ball a lot. But they still have Justin Herbert as their quarterback, even though he's a little bit banged up. Somebody there has got to be the number 1 receiver, and I was kind of hoping that maybe that could be Quentin Johnson, but it doesn't look like that's the case. He seems has the hands of stone. So give me Josh Palmer, who, when healthy, taking over for Keenan Allen and Mike Williams last year, showed he has wide receiver 1 potential. Now, am I expecting him to finish as a wide receiver? No, absolutely not. But that's a guy that you can get in, let's say, rounds 10 through 12 that can return wide receiver 2 value, and that's the kind of upside I'm looking for in those ranges there, especially because, again, if it's not Quentin Johnson, who else is there really to catch passes? I know there's a lot of talk about Ladd McConkey. Let's face it, I'm not buying a slot receiver in his rookie season. I want a guy who's going to be the number 1 in a Justin Herbert-led offense, and there's so many targets available for him. So give me Josh Palmer in, let's say, round 9. If I got to move up an extra round to get him, I want him on my team.
All right. PressBoxOnline.com is where you can see all of his stuff, and you can follow him on Twitter at Joe Serp. We'll do another one of these before the draft, and then we'll be doing them every week. We'll be doing them on Tuesdays, chatting with Joe about waiver wire pickups and what you should be looking at to try to improve your team that week. Joe Serpico, always appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking the time for us, and we'll talk again real soon, all right?
Thanks for having me, guys. We'll talk soon.
That's Joe Serpico. And, again, if you're sick of online fantasy drafts, make this year's draft more fun with Sports and Social at Live Casino Hotel. Book today, livecasinohotel.com. Get all you can eat, food, and drinks, a winner's trophy for your league, and a $75 gift card for the commissioner. Book your draft at livecasinohotel.com. We come back in. We will continue football conversation. We'll talk some Ravens with Dan Wilcox. Should the Ravens be in the market for a veteran backup quarterback? We'll talk about that next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday, and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion, and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling, and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Frederick Keys Baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimeo Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit FrederickKeys.com today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program into hour number 2. High school sports season just a couple of weeks now from getting underway. And every score for every team at every school, every part of the state, and every sport will be posted and available at countysports.zone all season long. Countysports.zone is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Also has news, standings, like lots of other information. Countysports.zone is the website. Again, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. It's been a little while since our last conversation with our next guest. He, of course, is one of our favorite humans alive. You know him not only as the former tight end of the Baltimore Ravens, but you also know him from the Believe in Ravens podcast. He's our buddy Dan Wilcox, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Dan, it's Glenn. What's going on, brother? How are you, my friend? Dan, you there, buddy? Oh, well. Well, so much for that. So much for that. We tried. Every time. Sometimes it's all set up. You feel like you got it. You knocked it out of the park. It's all right there. And then, meh. These things happen. We've had one of those days today. One of those days. We'll try again. Ravens, of course, have another preseason game this week against the Atlanta Falcons. That's Saturday at noon. It's going to be a heck of a day downtown with the noon game for the Ravens and then the Orioles game at night. And I think there's a T-shirt giveaway on Saturday night as well. So, yeah, going to be a big day downtown. Dan Wilcox, what's going on, friend? How are you?
I'm great, Glenn. How are you today, sir?
Everything is good, man. What's going on in your world these days?
Man, same old, man. Just kicking butt, working my butt off.
I know how
working my butt off, man. Trying to get ready for the season.
I know how you roll. I know that's the case. Are you guys back in action on the podcast yet?
Yeah, we just actually started back up, man. So we'll be probably putting out a show by the end of this week.
Excellent, man. I can't wait to hear that. Believe in Ravens podcast. Dan, let's cover a couple of things, more broadly, and then we'll dive in on a few more interesting topics. But more broadly, I don't. This is a difficult season to be trying to break down the Ravens in August because, all of the questions that we want answered are ones that we can't get answers to until January, right? That's what the reality of the Ravens is at this point. That's the success they've had. The question is, does it carry over? I'll start with this. What does concern you, if anything, about their ability to be back in the mix? What, if anything, do you say this might be the thing that if anything can prevent them, besides obviously Lamar Jackson getting hurt, if anything could prevent them from competing atop the AFC North, from being back in the mix to go to the Super Bowl, what would it be?
It would be coaching for me. It's always been coaching for me. I think we've had sporadic, areas amongst the players where you feel like, we could be a little bit better in the wide receiver room. We could be a little bit better in the running back room. We could be a little bit better in the DB section, but I don't really feel like we have any of those issues today. I feel like it's all the players. You have a very stacked team on paper. On paper, this team looked like an NFL Super Bowl winning team to me. It's just whether or not the coaches could all get it together. You got a new DC for the first time, new play caller at the defense coordinator position. And just, seeing Todd Monken going into year 2, with these guys, man, I want to see how much more comfortable Lamar will be at the quarterback position underneath the offense. And, you've got a couple new additions in the wide receiver room and O-line. I want to see how everything just kind of gels together, man. But to me, it's all going to boil down to coaching, play calling, when you call the play selection, putting the guys in the best situation, game plan week in and week out, and putting together the best game plan possible to defeat your opponents. I felt like we lacked in those situations a little bit last year.
Well, certainly in the AFC Championship game, there's no getting around that.
We all saw it. We all saw it firsthand.
We'll think about that for a very, very, very long time. Hopefully we won't have to, because hopefully they'll go win a Super Bowl. All right. That said, I think some of the other concerns people have had, like the idea of replacing 3 out of your 5 starting offensive linemen from a year ago, while Ronnie Stanley has also been very injury-prone on top of it, and he's one of the knowns at this point. The offensive line not as much of a concern for you?
No, it's not, man. I feel like player-wise, it's all about really just the coaching, understanding, and believing in the players that they have. I think the most underrated thing in the NFL is confidence. And when these guys are at the highest, most confidence, you can't get nobody to beat those offensive linemen that you have on this team. If they just got to have the confidence and they got to have the staff to build them up the right way, and then you just got to put these guys in positions where they're going to be great. Like if you got a J.O. over there on that left side and you can run the ball behind him every play because he's so dominant, or a Zeus, then you run the ball behind those guys. If you don't have those guys, you run away from them and you put them in positions to be great. Or you pull them if they're great at pulling. You just got to put them in positions to win. Athletic guys do athletic things, and you got to make sure you call them the right plays to benefit those guys and showcase their talents as well.
So, a year ago, we know Mark Andrews is a rock star. Isaiah Likely looked like a rock star when Mark Andrews wasn't on the field last year. You would think.
He's definitely a rock star.
The dumb guy would say, well, that's rock star plus rock star, so just get them on the field together. Is it that simple? Like, how much can the Ravens use both Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely on the field? And in trying to make up for whatever they've lost with Odell Beckham, can Isaiah Likely have another big season if Mark Andrews is healthy and on the field all year?
Absolutely. You got to put in the packages for them. The problem is when you have so many talented players on offense, you got to figure out how to get them on the field all the time. And when you got talented wide receivers, talented running backs, and talented tight ends, you can only have 5 skilled guys on the field at a time. So when one comes on, somebody has to come off. You got to be willing. You got to figure out who's better than who, and who you want to have on the field at all times. That means somebody won't get a chance to play. I was always a Devin Duvernay fan, but he never seemed to get enough reps on offense for me. And I think if he'd got more reps on offense, he would have been an even more explosive player for us. Every time he got the ball, he made a play. But that's one of those things. If he's on the field, who do you take off? So that's what you got to. That's the numbers game of the actual game of football, trying to figure out who you're going to take off and who you're going to keep on.
I guess the question is, like, is it? Do you use Isaiah Likely do you line him up as a wide receiver, or do you just run more 2 tight end sets?
If he's the best wide receiver on the field, yeah. But I mean, if you're taking off a really good wide out to put a good tight end there to run routes, you got to kind of weigh your options. I think you got to come up with different play types and different formations, different spots on the field to exactly figure out when you're going to put him in and when you can maximize his potential the best way possible. Sometimes you could go with a double tight end set. Usually if you go 2 tights, you either got 1 back or you got 2 backs. If you go with two backs, now that means there's only one wideout on the field.
Right.
So if you only got one wideout on the field with two tights and two backs, what wideouts are you taking off and what wideout are you keeping on? So that means your tight ends have to be better than your receivers. And the Ravens have notoriously been known to kind of do a lot of that. Put two tights on the field, one back, and two wideouts. But then you're leaving somebody off the field still. With Zay Flowers out there, and now you got Nelson Aguilar, who had a hell of a year last year, who I think will have an even bigger year this year if you really get the ball to him. I don't know. You really got to weigh your odds. Who you want off the field and who you want on the field.
I hear
who's more valuable.
Boy, it just looks like Isaiah Likely is a different type of playmaker, right? Like that you just got to do everything in your power to try to get the ball to him as much as you can because he really just seems special to me, Dan. We're chatting with Dan Wilcox here on GCR.
I agree.
Believe in Ravens podcast. Dan, a topic that came up, and look, I am not someone that puts stock into preseason football games. You just can't get me to do that. But Josh Johnson played on Friday night. He didn't look great. He's never really asserted himself. He's stuck around for a long time, and you've always been very comfortable with him as long as he wasn't playing. We all know that if Lamar Jackson gets hurt, your season's over. We all know that. That's the way that it works. But there's this very unique, like, hey, what if you lose your quarterback for 3 to 4 games? And then don't you want to have a better option than Josh Johnson? I think it's particularly interesting because there are some veterans out there like Ryan Tannehill who remains unsigned, although I don't know that Ryan Tannehill's interested in coming to a place where he'd be a backup versus waiting for a team that has a quarterback get hurt and then he just signs there. But if you were the Ravens, would it be a priority to you to try to upgrade over Josh Johnson as your primary backup?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't at all. I think the Ravens are a very smart organization. I don't really question a lot of the decisions they make. And for the specific fact is they go out and grab talent, and usually the guys they get are very talented guys. I think Josh Johnson is a talented quarterback in the right situation where he's not getting pressured and he has time to make decisions and put the ball in the hands of his receivers. I think his ball placement is really good. I think his intelligence of the game is really superior to a lot of those that are out there right now. And because he's been such a journeyman, you would think that he's not as good as he is. But, I think he's athletic enough to get out the pocket and scramble a little bit if he has to. And you see the first preseason game, I think he displayed all his ability. He put the ball on where they needed to be and put the balls in the hands of the playmakers and gave them opportunity to make plays. That back shoulder throw he threw to Tylan Wallace was about as good as anything I've seen. That was a hell of a catch by Tylan as well, who I love. I think that kid is a very talented kid. That's why he's still on the Ravens squad. He's a kid that hasn't got much shine, and I think it's probably his time to have a breakout year. But I think if Lamar was to go down, of course you lose a lot. Lamar is a 2-time MVP. How many quarterbacks in the league is a 2-time MVP?
Sure.
None. So, you're trying to replace Lamar is second to none. But of course you're going to miss Snoop because he reminded you of Lamar so much. But at the same time, I think Johnson is a really good QB, and I think he'll be a very good backup QB for us this year. Not that he'll play at all, because I think Lamar is going to be 100% healthy all year long.
Yeah, let's knock on. I am knocking on every piece of wood that I can find as you say those words, man.
Absolutely, man. 100%. I agree with you, Glenn.
That's got to be the
knock on every
case.
wood you can. It's his year, man. It's his year.
I was talking about it earlier in the show. I am all for anything involving player safety. One of the interesting things to me is seeing the number of players that chose to wear the Guardian caps, like Jonathan Taylor. I think there were like 5 Colts players that did it. Just your thought process and why someone, if the data says this really is helpful and will protect you from long-term injuries, why wouldn't a player wear the Guardian cap? At some point, should the league make it mandatory? Say, look, we're not going to give you the choice anymore. You got to wear this thing because we're trying to. As dismissive as we've all been about the league's thought process on safety, if the data says it's safer, we should do the thing that's safer.
It's one of those things where it kind of ruins the look of the helmet.
I get it.
Kind of ruins the look of the uniform, and I think guys, like as much as anything else, guys want to be safe, but they also want to feel like they look good doing whatever they're doing. It's like Deion has always said, you look good, you feel good, you play good, you play good,
they pay you good, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's one of those things mentally. When you look at it, it looks so stupid when you look at it on your helmet.
Yeah.
And I think guys just don't like how awkward it looks. You have to try to figure out a way to incorporate that where it's the interior thing of the helmet. You know, I don't know how you do that because the helmet becomes so bulkier and so much more bigger. You know, so and that thing does have it doesn't have a lot of weight to it, but it does add some weight to your helmet as well. You know, and I don't know what you do about that. Like I think if I was playing right now and I had a chance, if I had a choice to wear it, I wouldn't wear it either.
Wow.
If I didn't have any chance, I think if I don't have any choice at all, then I'm gonna do what you tell me to do.
Did you see?
I'm not gonna take a fine for it.
Did you see it with the swim cap over it, the way they were using it this weekend? Because I like up close, you can tell that it's different. Like from far on TV, I could barely tell that someone wasn't wearing a normal helmet in that situation.
Yeah, I didn't even see it, so I don't even know. I would have to definitely take another look at it. But they used to come up. I'm sure they used to have those things that we would practice. They would put them over your helmet,
right?
And they would be different colors, so that you could practice to be a practice squad guy.
Yep.
And that would mean you're on the other team, so the quarterback would distinguish not to throw the ball to you, to the other, throw it to his guys.
Yep.
So I'm assuming it looks something like that, which those things look stupid too.
Again,
so I don't.
You're right. Yeah. Like they look stupid when you're up next to it. Like it's just the television product to me is different. Like watching on TV from where the cameras shoot, I'm telling you, bro, you could not even tell. You had to get in close.
If you couldn't tell, like the Ravens got the new purple helmet this year.
Yeah.
Like that helmet is so freaking clean. Like I wouldn't want to put anything.
So this is the thing we were talking about earlier. That really is part of the problem. Like there's something about how sleek these helmets look that it made. Like fans go out and buy them. They're never gonna wear them in their life. They just want to have them in their living room because they look so damn cool.
Yeah, man, it's 100% true. I just moved my son in to college. Yeah. His roommate had a Miami Dolphins helmet.
Right.
On his desk.
Right.
And you could tell it was something that he bought at the store. It wasn't like it was a real Dolphins helmet, like authentic, but you could tell it was something that he bought it at a store. So I mean, you're right, 100% right.
Part of the problem.
Things look
they
so
look cool.
The guys want to have them in their house.
And then what have you made of the kickoff? Like I am already dismissive of the. Again, I'm all for safety, but like trying to get me excited about it, it's too complicated. I don't want to have to try to remember 6 things on every kickoff about what the rules are. You're asking for too much from a play that's not significant enough. What do you make of the kickoff?
I don't know. Like I think it's going to take some time for me to get used to it. I'm so used to the running down full speed, trying to make somebody miss, trying to get to the ball as fast as you possibly can. And now you're just kind of standing in front of each other until the guy catches the ball. I don't know. It's going to take some getting used to for me. It looked extremely weird. I wasn't comfortable with it. I didn't like it, but I'm sure just like everything else over time, we'll grow to be okay with it. Maybe they switch it back, maybe they don't. I honestly don't know, but I'm with player safety 100 miles per hour. I was back when they used to put the offensive lineman in the wedge back in the back and the D lineman in the wedge. You used to get concussions every time you ran downfield. So I'm all for player safety. If this is what it's going to take to try to keep these guys on the field and not get somebody's kid hurt, I'm all for it.
Right, but the trade-off still has to be player safety versus looking cool. We got to figure out a way to make that work.
That's the balance. That's the balance right now. You're so used to regular kickoff return, and now you go to this thing. It's so weird.
Yep.
Just like that Guardian cap. It's so weird.
100%, man. Oh, Dan Wilcox. So where'd you drop your son off? Where's he going to school?
He's going to Florence Darlington Technical College up in South Carolina.
Okay.
Florence, South Carolina
Very
for baseball scholarship.
Very cool, man. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's a very cool thing.
Thank you so much, man.
Everything else good in your world, bro?
Man, everything's wonderful, man. Just working, man, and just chipping away, man. Trying to get back up to Baltimore as soon as I can so I can see a game. And I'm excited about this season, man, just like everybody else in Baltimore.
We are all fired up. Love you, brother. Always appreciate you. At Coach Wilcox on Twitter. Believe in Ravens is the podcast. They're firing back up soon. Let's be talking more frequently as the season goes on. Always thankful for you taking the time, my friend.
Looking forward to it, Glenn. Looking forward to the Zoom next time. Let's do the Zoom
next time.
No doubt.
We'll make that happen. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, brother.
Dan
Bye.
Wilcox. You know how much I love Dan. We can only say that so many times. Boy, that really is, like, when you hear the words, it's wild. Like, you can tell me it's safer, but it just looks so dumb. I couldn't do it. And it's staggering, right? Because I know how smart Dan Wilcox is. Like, I've known Dan for God knows how long at this point. I don't want to do that math. He's one of the smartest human beings I've ever come across. He's incredible. But straight up, he says, if I was playing and you told me it was a choice, those things look too dumb. I can't wear them. And again, we always talk about how sleek helmets look. It is part of like what we've known about football. I'm in looking at it over the weekend. The regular camera shot of a play, you have no idea who's wearing the Guardian cap and who isn't. Once they zero in, like on the huddle, then you can see
one guy's got a bigger brain, and then
well, you can just see that the swim cap is the part that like
because like the front like of the face mask kind of like still
it's not even
out at the top.
It's just that you could tell it's not like they have to put something on top of the Guardian cap. Like they can't design the Guardian cap so the Guardian cap has the logo. You have to put something on top of it. You can see that water polo cap that they're wearing over top of the Guardian cap, but it's when it gets close. From far away, you can't tell at all. The problem being, these guys love those pictures of themselves, like those pregame photos of those guys like mugging on the field or, you know, arms folded, like the three of them together. They love those pictures. And in all of those pictures, you're going to be able to tell because they're in close. And so 1,000,000% what Dan Wilcox just said is going to be true. It's going to be these guys are going to be like, dude, I look great in that helmet. It looks amazing.
I don't know. I wonder how easy or difficult it is to like take it on and off. So like, you know, up until, you know, right at 1 o'clock.
Before the game, you have your regular helmet on, and then during the game it's the Guardian
Then
cap?
they throw on the cap and the cover.
I don't know the answer to that question. It's
I mean, but
where
yeah,
I'll give you credit
right,
is
though,
like maybe if that uniquely is part of the problem, then can you do things to try to mitigate that? That like, or you literally have guys with two different helmets for each game. One is just their pregame warm up helmet, and the other is the helmet they're going to wear in the game. Maybe.
But you do think about. I mean, but I do think you're right. You know, if a guy scores like if a running back scores a touchdown or wide receiver or whatever, and they do their flex
right,
or
they
whatever,
want that
and that
cool looking picture, and those
it's gonna look
the helmets. As bulky as they are, as cumbersome as a football helmet is, and anyone who's ever put on a football helmet, like, knows. You get one of these replica helmets, you have no idea. Football helmets are heavy, cumbersome, but yet they look cool.
And maybe
and it's also what we associate, like it's always been the logo. The logo is the helmet, right? Like it's what we associate with football over. We have like some sort of weird romantic relationship with the helmet uniquely. What is it? Stupid Drew always is like, dude, you got to say they got the best helmet in the foot. Like we have a helmet thing. We think about helmets all the time. Everybody has their favorite helmet or what they want the helmet to look like. At Maryland, everybody's all hot and bothered by you got to do the script terps. I don't even like it all that much.
I hope they add, way off topic, I hope they add, like, throughout the season, they add, like, new uniforms in the college football game. That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Thank you.
Just because it's a little limited right now.
Dynamite tipping.
A little bit limited right now.
Really great job of keeping the conversation.
The flag.
Griffin says,
maybe they waive.
That topic that you were having, remember, I'd like to light a fire to it if you're all right with it. It is Griffin Bass Radio, after all. So I'm just going to take this butane lighter and light a fire to everything you were doing and instead talk about the thing that I care about.
I'm sure they're working on a helmet where, like, everything that's in that Guardian cap goes, like, inside underneath the
You would think that's been something that they would, but we're years into this now. Like, this is not new.
I mean, well, the Guardian caps debuted, was it last year?
No, the Guardian caps debuted like 3 years ago.
Really? It was that long ago?
Yeah, man. Yeah. We've seen the Guardian caps for years at this point, and we still haven't gotten there. Yeah, 2000 Guardian caps have been used in...
I mean, I don't know. Maybe this... Just because, I mean, 90%
2021
of the game
was when we first started seeing the Guardian caps. So, yeah, 3 years. 3 years. And the company, the product has existed since at least 2015. And we haven't gotten there yet. Which, again, somebody would say we got to have a lot of smart people working on it in order to fix this. But at some point, it also makes me wonder if the NFL doesn't just say, dude, sorry, you don't have a choice. You just have to wear it.
I mean, it doesn't look that like I'm watching the Colts. Now.
Again,
and
from
it is
the game film video,
like,
the regular camera shot of watching the game.
And that'll be 80 to 90% of the game anyway.
You would never notice. You would never, unless you were trying to.
But seeing Jonathan Taylor next to, Anthony
once
Richardson,
you get to the huddle,
shiny.
Once you get to the huddle, you know
see
exactly
the lights
1,000%.
It does look a lot better.
Can they make is there any way they can make the swim caps look cooler? I don't know. Never seen a cool looking swim cap in my life. I don't know how they would go about doing that. In fact, as it is, it's cooler than most swim caps because it has a logo on it. It's by default the coolest swim cap I've ever seen in my life. But that's a very low bar. I don't know how you fix it, but it really is staggering hearing Dan Wilcox talk of it. Like, dude, that's where it is. I look too good. And like a lot of players feel that way. If I look good, I feel good. If I feel good, I play good. If I play good, they pay me good. Like, that is a common. It's why Terrell Suggs was so obsessed with wearing the black. He genuinely believed he was faster wearing a certain uniform than he did wearing another.
Might have been right.
How do you debate with that? Like, I understand. It's crazy to me. All right, we come back in.
It will be bad, when someone gets popped and then the cap pops off,
The swim cap?
Yeah.
I think they could just put it back on.
Yeah, but then it will look bad, though. You'll be like, look.
I think we've all seen
then you'll be able to
it's
notice
a Guardian
from the wide
cap.
angle.
We know.
Yeah, you know.
But they're just going to put the swim cap back on.
I know. Well, I mean, we're talking about vanity here. Like, that's,
for God's sake.
It's a bad look.
Jesus Christ. Come back in. We will preview the Nationals. We worked it out. Kevin Frandsen is going to join us next as we'll preview the two games between the Orioles and Nats. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Frederick Keys baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit frederickkeys.com today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Hagerstown, Maryland, a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with two sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
There he is, Agent 00 Chicken. Nothing can keep him from Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Because right now, he can get a 3-piece world-famous chicken box for just $8, with a portion of each sale donated to a local charity. Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. Come to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. It's a real thriller, but it's only for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. If you missed it yesterday, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley got together to talk baseball, talk about the Orioles pitching situation. You can find that right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/video. And you can check it out right there. All right, Orioles and Nationals going to play a couple of games this week here in Baltimore, starting tonight. Joining us now to preview the Nationals, he is, of course, TV color analyst on MASN for the Nats. He is Kevin Frandsen, and he's with us here on GCR. Kevin, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, dude. I know the Nationals weren't able to sustain, like, the really intriguing play of a bit earlier this year. But I still feel like that word intriguing probably defines this team well, right? Like, I think we're at the point where you can start to see the fruits are there. There are still more coming, obviously. And the Nationals really do look like they are turning the corner and are going to be a compelling team again for the next few years, correct?
I absolutely agree. Look, it's not the company talk on it either. It's like I do a lot of stuff for MLB Network Radio on Sirius XM, and we've talked about this often, which is like you see the young prospects and then you see them. Like in Baltimore, you've seen for years all these prospects in the minor leagues, but you haven't seen them. And now you've seen them for 2 years, and you're seeing the fruits of the labor of all of it. With the Nationals in general, you're watching a team that obviously is young, obviously has had some growing pains, and there is a truth to learning how to win in the big leagues. Like, you can win all you want in the minor leagues and do everything together, but you got to learn how to do it and be concentrating at a big league level for 9 innings, right? And or more in the case of like the Nationals the last week, it seems like. But the thing is that so much good is coming out of this. There are some bumps that you're going to hit. Yeah. And I feel like we've seen that in the past early on in the season where we saw them win some games that maybe they shouldn't have won, but why not? Right? Like, you get that belief, you understand. Once you understand and once you execute the way they did at that point in time, it's always the sky's the limit with teams. But like, again, it is, can you stay in the moment? When you're in this retool phase as the Nationals are, can you stay in the moment and not get ahead of yourself? And I think that's a big factor when you look at, what's going to happen with them moving forward.
So you bring up some of those guys that you're seeing, right? And like, I think everybody at this point has seen enough of C.J. Abrams, we know. But James Wood, who there was so much excitement about. But again, if someone in Baltimore that's not watching a lot of Nationals games otherwise, what have you seen? What have the returns been on James Wood? How special do you believe he's going to be in the coming years?
All right, so it's hard to put a label on it because you're watching something. This kid's 21 years old. He's 6'7", right? You should not have like we talk about the length of swing now that the bat Statcast has the bat metrics on everything. I mean, he has a short swing for a huge human. He hits the ball as hard, if not harder, than Judge and Yordan Alvarez and those type of guys that you're looking at. It's a fact. Like, he's like 58% hard hit rate, which is insane. His average exit velo 95. Who is Aaron Judge, right? And so when you look at that, you look at the fact that he doesn't chase, and you're like, oh my God. Is what's special. Like, this kid, I think even more to add to it is the fact that he's from the area.
Right.
Right. And when you have guys like that we haven't had in the Nationals history, like, this is unbelievable. These are things to celebrate. Now, defensively, I think is going to be the really, really big project of, work in progress. We've seen some okay stuff out there, but not above average. And I think when you look forward to it, can he make up for it with the bat? Absolutely. Right. But I think that, when you're 21 years old, you're still learning. It's not a finished product in every aspect. But what we've seen is it just makes you smile. Like James Wood makes you smile when you think about a guy and a kid in this game where the sky is the limit and the attitude to go with it. It is unbelievable. So people in Baltimore that haven't seen him play, it's just this slowness. It's this controlled. I know who I am as a 21-year-old, where I think a lot of people are jealous of that, right? Like most people don't know themselves until they get in their 30s, and you're like, oh man, this is what I want to do. This kid knows exactly what he wants to do at the plate every single time, and that to me is one of the most special qualities that you're going to see.
That's well said. I'm 40, and I'm still trying to figure it out, Kevin, so we'll see if we can't get there. Kevin Frandsen is with us. So on the pitching side, we're going to see Jake Irvin tonight, and it's fascinating to me because not a guy that I think had a whole lot of hoopla surrounding him. He wasn't a first-round pick, anything like that. Came up last year, was not very good. But all of a sudden I look up now, and I look at his numbers, and I say, holy crap, like those are upper echelon numbers. Like those are top starter numbers in Major League Baseball. I know that part of the story has been cutting down on the walks. What else has led to Jake Irvin suddenly looking up and looking like a legit, real deal Major League pitcher?
Well, I think all of us that have been in the big leagues at some point in time, the hardest thing is to get that opportunity and to believe that opportunity is mine, right? It sounds weird to say, but it everyone's gonna be like, oh, this is your chance. This is your chance. Like, no, this is your spot, not your chance. This is your spot. He believes that this is his spot. And I think that is a huge difference when it comes to confidence and understanding. When you know that is my rotation spot, I think is such a fun thing to think about. You can take the next step. Now, there's a lot of similarities with numbers last year, right? The home runs are the exact same. The innings are definitely not the same. He's got more innings, but the same exact starts. And you're looking at certain things. Cutting the walk rate in half is insanity for me, because like you were wondering, like, can he get over it? Well, he did. He's got a great curveball that I feel like at times in recent weeks has been a little bit flat, just based on the fact like you're watching the guy now take that next step of the innings, right? Like you're watching him go to that next level. Can he get through that? This is that phase. Once he gets over it, it's going to be fascinating to see how. Personally, I think his August-September is going to be amazing. But towards the end of it, because I feel like you go through that 6-start period where things aren't right. How do you, mentally get over that? And I think we're seeing it with him. He's mentally tough. This kid wants to, he's not a kid. He's 27. This guy understands exactly what it takes. He's grasped that whole thing. He doesn't try to overthink it. He will sometimes, you're going to have to will yourself to do some things. But the thing that I love about him is that he continues to compete. Whatever he has, he's going to go compete. And I feel like when you watch throughout the league, there's a lot of guys that struggle about just competing. It's like, oh man, I don't have my stuff. Right. Okay.
Right.
Get over it. Get over it and move on.
Figure out how to pitch.
And there's a lot of guys that don't know how to do that. Right.
So all of these pieces that are coming together for the Nationals, do you feel like the timeline is now this offseason, perhaps they recognize this, they spend, and they're a real threat next year? Is that we were in this situation in Baltimore in 2022 where it was like, hey, they actually might be a little bit early in competing, and I'm not sure they're quite ready to invest just yet. Like, are they there now, or is it still maybe one more year away from that point?
That's why I get paid to talk on TV and not doing the management stuff. No, because I'm still mad that the Orioles did what they did in 22. Like, I don't believe you're too early. Like, who says that you're too early?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, your guys dictate exactly who they are. And so it's fascinating to watch this whole thing because, again, is it within the timeline? Absolutely. I just don't believe I know what a timeline is with this because the players are going to dictate exactly, do we spend? And do I, because I'm a player, right? I always want ownership to spend. I'm always in on that. But at the same time, like, what is the type of person? They need that, they need that leader in that clubhouse that's going to show the way. It's almost like, in all honesty, the Jason Worth signing. When they signed J-Dub, it changed a lot because they had Zim. They had the stars. Yep. They have stars. They need that guy that's going to show and lead the way, that's been there, done that. I always believe in that part. I just am never going to say, they need to spend this, and this, and have a timeline on it. I just believe that timeline of what we saw for 10 plus years in Washington, D.C., it's about to happen now.
Let me bring that to you just because we brought up Baltimore, Kevin. I am interested in your take, and I know you guys talk about this on MLB Radio. Like, they're here. We think they're capable of winning a World Series. And they did look. The Zach Eflin trade right now looks like it might ultimately be the most impactful starting pitcher acquisition at the deadline this year, right? Like in a year where pitchers didn't get dealt, Zach Eflin has looked great for a couple of starts, but they have like real problems in the back end of the bullpen, like dramatic problems. They've been kind of a 500 team. Do you look at the Orioles and see a team that definitively is good enough to win the World Series right now?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Are you serious? Like, look, so I'm very biased towards Zach Eflin. I spent 4 years in Philadelphia doing, Philadelphia Phillies radio. I'm close with Zach, and I believe in everything that he does. So when they got him, I'm like, yes, there's the guy. You do not have a team. I will always revert back to this. 2022, the Nats came into town. There was a rain delay. There was a rain out. 5 innings, game over, right? Austin Hayes had the cycle in that 5 inning span. And I just remember leaving Camden Yards that night going, that is one of the most athletic teams I've ever seen. And that athleticism has only continued to grow. And I feel like this is a team that, yes, they've got to struggle. And they're still ahead of everybody. Why? Because they're that damn good. Mike Elias and the entire staff has built this thing to withstand and to be, to be played out for a long time, which is beautiful. They haven't gotten rid of, a ton of top prospects because why? Because they've been shrewd in that. At the same time, have they done enough? I always believe in yes, for the fact that, getting a Zach Eflin can, push, certain guys into certain spots. Is Grayson Rodriguez going to be completely healthy when it comes down to it? I don't know.
Right.
They have these guys. Yes, they are a threat, and they're a threat to everybody. I feel like, and also it comes down to the Felix Bautista thing has really you remember how easy things were with Cano and him, right, in the 8th and 9th, and when Brandon Hyde was able to put Cano into the perfect spots that they needed to use. It is crazy to think that one guy did that. Now, the injury has changed everything, but Felix Bautista is the game changer of them all. He's there. The bullpen ideas are like, we have no problem.
Yep.
Exactly, right?
Yep.
So that's going to always be the case. And for me, when I look at Baltimore, they're the threat of as good as anybody. They play the game the right way. They could play it in so many different ways. You're going to go through these some peaks and valleys at times, and the peaks are going to be so high.
So I say that, though. Can the team – this team doesn't have – they don't have a closer. It's August 13th, and there is no closer here. And maybe they're going to give Sir Anthony Dominguez the opportunity to try to do that, but they're not committing to it, and it looks further and further away from Craig Kimbrell getting another opportunity because the struggles have just been sort of ungodly. Can a team without a closer on August 13th, can a team with no closer at all, if they just decide to go committee, can you win a World Series without one?
I think so, yes. Because, again, if you have the right people to put them in the right spots and succeed with it, I go back to, like, Rob Thompson, right? Like, everyone, crushed Gabe Kapler, understandably. about like how he was going to use the bullpen because he talked about how he used the bullpen. And they didn't have that set closer, and they didn't do this, and they didn't do that. Rob Thompson just does it without even like worried about that, right? And they've had some issues at the closer position, and they've had multiple guys go in there and do it. And I think you can understand, like, there's a lot of similarities to the Orioles. And I find, like, it's August. You said the one word that it is. The month is August.
Yeah,
all that matters is, do they have a closer in October that has stepped up in that moment?
True.
That's the big question. And so right now, to me, it doesn't matter. It's about someone stepping up and find a way. And, you know, sure enough, I with the team that they have, you feel like at some point someone's going to click and someone's going to take that by the reins and run with it.
Would you, and again, based on you reminded us that the time you spent in Philadelphia, what you saw of Sir Anthony Dominguez and his stuff, would you be inclined to give him that chance?
Yes and no. And
okay.
Yes is it's all about him. It's all about him. It goes hand in hand. If he wants it, he could take it.
Okay.
If he's uncomfortable and if he's very, timid in those situations, that's him. So what is it? And I feel like it's going to be defined, like that role for him is going to be defined by if he wants it. If he wants it, it's not going to be handed to him. He's got to take it. And I feel like that's Sir Anthony.
But his stuff you think is good enough that if he does, he could do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Kevin Frandsen.
Absolutely. It's electric.
What can I plug for you, man? I know it's at Kevin Frandsen on Twitter. Anything else? Like when are we hearing you on MLB Radio? What can I get a plug in for?
Well, Saturdays at 10 a.m., always on Sirius XM. Chris Jimenez and I, he's a former big league catcher. We have a show. It's best show on the network. We know that. That's how we plug it. And just every night on MASN, just with me and Bob Carpenter, Dan Coco. I'm not here for the self pub. Let's just be.
I appreciate that. Enjoy a couple of nights in Baltimore, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us. Really appreciate you doing this.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys having me.
Kevin Frandsen, MASN Nationals analyst, former MLB infielder. It's funny because it's like his immediate reaction to the question is like, yeah, and then it's like, well, right, and then if they had Felix, but that's where we're all. If the Orioles had Felix Bautista, we wouldn't be asking this question. We'd still be frustrated by some things that we've seen over the course of the last couple of weeks, but the more likely scenario is they would have won a few more games in the process because of the presence of Felix Bautista, that we wouldn't be as obsessed with the overall picture. But they don't, and that's where we are. We are the questions really do start because a lot of the other things, the defense. I've seen the Orioles play good defense this season. I think they're capable of it. I think Gunnar Henderson is a better defensive player than what he's been, during this stretch. I'm not. I guess the problem is I'm not sure if Jackson Holliday is a better defensive second baseman. I don't know what it's going to look like at third base. I think it's going to be Ramon Urias primarily, and because it's going to be Ramon Urias primarily, I think it's fair to Midland defensively. When Cedric Mullins is in center field, you can see what a difference it makes defensively, like the end of the game the other night, where, that could be a problem. Could be a real problem with a lot of other guys in center field. I don't like Ryan O'Hearn playing corner outfield spots. Not in favor of that. Never will be. But the defense, I'm confident about the offense, even though it's inconsistent, it can be good enough to win a World Series. I'm confident is probably the wrong word, but if Grayson Rodriguez comes back, I have reason to believe the starting pitching might be good enough to win a World Series. It's a huge, caveat. But particularly how good Zach Eflin's been since arriving in Baltimore. You get Grayson Rodriguez back before the season's over, and he's ready for the postseason. I believe it can be. I believe the defense can be good enough to win a World Series. Bullpen. Today, I don't. I don't believe it. Kevin Frandsen's point, it's August. You have time. You could feel differently about it. You could. But without seeing it, it's just hard to have that confidence. At the moment, I don't believe. Today, I don't believe this bullpen can be good enough to win a World Series. But, as we keep talking about, it's not about August. If
Danny Coulomb and
Jacob Webb, obviously, that's part of the math that you're doing there. And if you add in, like, if Gregory Soto worked through the worst part of his season, who, in fairness, again, before his final appearance in Philadelphia, had actually been pitching really well. If Gregory Soto worked through, if these were just the 3 worst appearances he's going to have of the year, and the rest of the way he's going to be impactful, then that changes things. But today, telling me that, saying, hey, I believe that's what, nope. Nope. I can't believe that. Today? No way. Which doesn't mean it doesn't end up being true. If there's a million of these ifs that we can do. If this, if that, if the whole thing. But how confident am I? Get back to me. Get back to me, and we'll talk about it. The bullpen is the one. All right. We don't have to take any more breaks. We're good,
no,
right?
we don't.
Look at how that all worked out. Look how that all worked out. Hey, I told you about it earlier, and I'm going to keep telling you about it because it's such a cool thing that they're doing at the Live Casino and Hotel. You're playing in your fantasy draft right now. You're trying to convince your buddies, we can go to Dave's house, or we can go to Stop it. Let them take care of everything for you. Don't do it. Don't end up bailing and saying, let's just do it online. It's too much to make it easy. Pick a day. Everybody goes to Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel. And what they're going to do for you is you're going to get all you can eat entrees, drinks, and custom draft kits for the whole league. Also, a custom trophy for the winning team and a $75 gift card for the commissioner. All taken care of. All handled. You don't have to stress about it. You don't have to worry about, hey, is somebody taking care of the food? Everybody just brings chips, and you're like, we just have a bunch of chips. What's going on here? You don't have to think about any of those things. Just let Live Casino and Hotel take care of it. Go right now, livecasinohotel.com. That's livecasinohotel.com in order to register and get your league signed up for an awesome draft day experience inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel, Maryland. All right. How about we get a tidbit?
Do we need to?
Oh, we do, of course. Thank you.
We can make our predictions, I guess. Is that one?
No, that's not the way that it works. No, there was no man of the match last night, but when there is a man of the match, of course, it is brought to you by... Wow.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring local food, shopping, and fun for all. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront, vibrant small towns, and family entertainment. Tickets on sale now at maryland5star.us.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these
point between July 4th and the last day of summer, which might very well be true, but it's nonsense. No one actually treats September 20th or whatever it is as the last day of summer. The last day of summer is Labor Day. That's when it is. Like you're trying to involve science in the conversation.
Well, yeah, science is very much involved.
No. Culture has decided this. Summer starts on Memorial Day. It ends on Labor Day. That's the way it works. I don't make the rules. I just play by them. That's the way that it goes. Start of summer is Memorial Day. End of summer is Labor Day. We are not at the halfway point between July 4th and the end of summer. We're just at the halfway point between the July 4th and, what do they call that, the fall equinox? Is that with the autumn?
They just call it September equinox?
I think it's called the autumn equinox, I believe is what it is. But I'll get the answer on that.
Yeah,
that's what we're at the halfway point of. It's just not. Stop pretending like that's still summer just because it's, autumnal equinox, correct. Spring and autumn are equinoxes, and summer and winter are solstices. That's Mr. Science over here.
Because the days are even.
But yeah, it ain't the halfway. Because when I heard that, I'm like, wait, really? And then I was like, oh, right, because we still pretend that like the middle of September is the summer, which we all know not the case.
Technically?
No, it's not. All right,
I mean,
now.
if you're at that Ravens game and it's 85 degrees, it feels like summer.
By the way, I also saw just things that were floating across that were interesting to me. 7.8 million viewers for the women's basketball gold medal game, which started at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, peaked at 10.9 million viewers between 11 and 11:30 a.m., which is weird because, see, I was told that.
Imagine.
Stop it. It's just so. It's so unbearable. It's so pathetic. It's so lame. Oh my God, those people. That's the really crazy part, is that those people were almost certainly actively rooting for the U.S. to lose. Like, this is how twisted and disturbed we are. This is how effed up we are in our brain, is the people that have decided that there's like some political points to be scored related to Caitlin Clark. Somehow. That they've made it a political thing. The existence of a basketball player. Those people were watching the game on Sunday, clearly, because the ratings say
people watch.
And rooting against the U.S. because they wanted to be able to go on to social media. This is how disturbed we are, and say,
Angel Reese should have been on.
Told you. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. They wanted to say that about Angel Reese. See, told you Caitlin Clark should have been on. That's how effed up and twisted we are. We are a deeply troubled and unserious society. It's badass. Everybody watched. And it was at 9:30. Imagine if the game was played at a real time. Imagine how many people watch that if that's played at 4 o'clock on a Sunday, 7:30 in prime time. When people imagine what that looks like. Crazy. All right, ready for Tidbit?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right.
There is a place
by the way, I was just
where tradition,
that
family,
if
and
you want to book
community
that
gather.
fantasy draft party with your league at Sports and Social and Live Casino and Hotel, if you go to livecasinohotel.com, you have to click through a couple things. So we're going to make it easier for you. Just go to pressboxonline.com/social. Just do that. pressboxonline.com/social. Go to that site, and that'll get you directly to where you need to go in order to get all the information, find out all of the details for registering and getting your fantasy football draft at Sports and Social with all of those incredible amenities. All right.
Speaking of Jay Cuda, had a banger last night after the White Sox took down the Yankees. Gavin Sheets had a very nice game, 3 doubles at 4, or I think he had 5 RBIs.
He still loves the Orioles in his heart.
Yeah.
He is a legacy. He is a Baltimore kid doing everything he can. A hero.
First person ever over 6'3" to have at least 3 doubles and at least 4 RBIs in a game against the Yankees.
Well, how about that?
Yeah.
How about that? How could that be possibly? All right, never mind.
I mean,
whatever.
It's Jay Cuda. He's
sure. Yeah, right.
He's checked everything. He's checked everywhere. So I wanted to try to figure out how to make that a tidbit. So there have been 7 players to have multiple of these games. Doesn't at any height. It doesn't have to be 6'3". Doesn't have to be against the Yankees. But 7 players have had multiple games of 3 doubles and 4 RBIs. Any chance you can name?
Say that one more time.
There have been 7 players with multiple games of 3 doubles, 4 RBIs
in baseball history
since the expansion era. What is it? 1960? What is that era? The modern era, I think. This one.
In the modern era.
Yeah.
7 players.
Although the modern era also just since 1961.
Since 1961.
Yeah.
7 players with multiple games of 3 or more doubles and
4 RBI.
4 RBI
or more.
So I got nothing to work with, more or less. Because even guys that weren't big doubles hitters could have had a couple of games they had 3 doubles.
Yes. They're good, though.
Okay. Albert Pujols.
No, not Albert Pujols. There is a legendary Cardinal, though.
There's a legendary Cardinal. But it was after 1961. So if they...
It's... Okay.
Stan Musial?
Not Stan.
Because that probably was too much before 1961.
Also, he's not on the list.
Yeah. A legendary Cardinal. But it's not Albert Pujols.
Right.
Legendary Cardinal that's not... I'm going to guess it's not Ozzie Smith.
It is, in fact.
Really?
Ozzie Smith.
Okay, this list is impossible. Ozzie Smith, not known for his prodigious power.
Well, it's not necessarily. It's just doubles.
Doubles
his extra base
represents power.
Hitability.
Where do you think Ozzie Smith is on the list of all-time doubles hitters? That's a genuine question.
That's a good question. You want me to?
Nah,
you pull it up?
I'm gonna pull it up.
I don't know. I guess I'll say he's top 100.
Maybe, but I don't even know that I believe that. Ozzie Smith, 191st.
Okay, so top 200.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Well, I mean, like in context of all of the players.
More than me.
In the context of, is there any reason to think that he... By the way, I happen to see another legendary Cardinal above him on the list. Not even as prodigious a doubles hitter as Yadier Molina. That is an insane name to be the first one on the list, and there was no way for me to come up with Ozzie Smith.
Well, you guessed the Cardinal. I got you there.
You did get me there. All right, so this is fun.
All right, let's try to get the guys.
Jeff Bagwell.
No Bagwell.
Frank Thomas.
No.
Barry Bonds.
No.
Robin Yount.
No Robin Yount.
Paul Molitor.
No, not Paul.
Okay. Doing well. Craig Biggio was a doubles guy.
No Biggio.
Okay. How about Pete Rose?
No Pete Rose.
Nailed it on this one. You're cooking on this one. Ken Griffey Jr.
No Ken Griffey.
Cal Ripken Jr.
No, there is. He didn't do it with the Orioles. There is a modern Oriole.
He's a modern
no longer active,
Oriole.
but he's a modern
No
Oriole.
longer active, modern Oriole, but he didn't do it with the Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, Nelson Cruz.
No, not Nelson Cruz. Kind of close, though. Like the right era.
Right era. Mark Reynolds.
Not Mark Reynolds. Think more contact guy.
Think more contact guy, but didn't do it with the Orioles. More of a contact guy. Miguel Tejada. Now, he was a power guy.
He did it once.
He did it.
Miguel Tejada.
Oh,
He had
Miguel
one
Tejada,
game. He didn't have multiple.
More of a contact guy. Didn't do it with modern Oriole. Didn't do it with the Orioles.
After he left the Orioles.
Steve Pearce.
Not Steve Pearce.
Nick Markakis.
Okay. There it is.
He was a doubles guy.
Mm-hmm. All right, we
I
had.
don't know where he is in the list of all-time doubles hitters. This is going to be my favorite part of this. Nick Markakis, significantly higher. 54th all-time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hall of
He's a
Famer.
doubles guy. Nah, I don't know about that.
Maybe.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so it's actually 6. There's a guy.
God's sakes.
The guy with most all time did it before the
And who is
1960s. That was you can guess
Babe
it. If you
Ruth.
guess this one, not Babe Ruth.
Tris Speaker.
No, not Babe Ruth was closer.
Oh, Mickey Mantle.
No, not Mickey.
I don't know.
For Mickey is further away than Babe Ruth.
Mickey is further away than Babe Ruth. I don't, this is painful. All
right, then get this
my
one.
My sister's
and then I'll
having a
give it to you.
baby.
Yeah, you're right. All right, get this one, and then I'll give it to you.
Who is the old guy?
Lou Gehrig.
Lou Gehrig, sure.
Lou Gehrig, number 1, 4 games. Then a guy with
now,
3 games.
And
a catcher.
just give me a catcher. Thank you. That's what we should work with.
Ranger.
Mike Piazza.
Yep. No, you had it.
Pudge Rodriguez.
Yeah, Pudge Rodriguez, 3. And then Markakis had 2. Ozzie had 2. Steve Finley.
You could. Oh God, that's really where we are with this.
Don Mattingly.
Oh, Mattingly, maybe.
And then the last one, he was part of the tidbit that you guessed yesterday, like the first one. That wasn't the full.
I don't remember.
He was a Pirate.
It's a Pirate. Oh, Willie Stargell.
Willie Stargell. Those are the guys with multiple. Then also, if you across all time in baseball, Vic Wertz and Hod Ford.
Oh, Vic.
Vic Wertz and Hod Ford. And then I forgot to give you this one yesterday because it was going around. This is more. You'll like this one better. Because MASN gave it out. Santander switch hitters with 25 home runs in a 60-game span.
You know what? I did see this, and I've already forgotten who it was. And it was 2 Hall of Famers, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it's pretty good company.
But it wasn't Eddie Murray.
Not Eddie Murray.
So then
3 switch hitters ever.
So Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle. Yeah. He did it twice, both in 1956 and 1961.
God, who was the other one? Was it Chipper?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Chipper Jones in 1990. This is Santander, Chipper Jones, Mickey.
Yeah,
Mantle.
I did see that, and I was like, wow, that's impressive. All right, very good. All right, let's get tubular.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular this evening. As we've discussed, Orioles open a short set with the Nationals, 6:35 on MASN, or if for some reason you would like to watch Kevin Frandsen, you could watch it on MASN too. Jake Irvin, Trevor Rogers, the pitching matchup there. TBS, Dodgers, Brewers at 8:10, MLB Network, Pirates, Padres, 9:40, MLB TV, free game is Braves, Giants at 9:45, ESPN Plus, Rockies, Diamondbacks at 9:40. Tennis Channel all day for the Cincinnati Open. The League's Cup continues tonight. Tigres UANL, UANL, takes on NYCFC at 8 o'clock. Throw all the records out.
I guess I'll say you got it right.
Together. That's on Fox Sports 1. ESPN for a new episode of The Ultimate Fighter at 10 o'clock. The USA Network for WWE NXT tonight at 8. Non-sports.
Contender Series back this week too, or no? Is that next week?
I will never care.
I don't know why they'd have it. Must be next
never
week.
Care.
The Ultimate Fighter's still going. I don't know. There's really Hard Knocks, new episode of that on HBO at 9 with the Chicago Bears, and that's really it. John Cena will be on Jimmy Kimmel, Jeff Goldblum live.
Okay.
With
Walton Goggins was on something last night, and I didn't know you didn't mention it when we did this. It was only that I saw that when we posted it.
He was on Colbert.
Is that to plug Righteous Gemstones or
no? I couldn't. I did not know. I couldn't see.
What is going on with Righteous Gemstones? This country needs it. What they're giving us right now on Sunday nights on HBO is The Industry, and I'm not even sure what that is.
Oh, Fallout. That's right. He's in Fallout. Walton Goggins.
God damn it. What is The Industry, and should I be looking at it?
No.
No?
I mean, I guess it's HBO, so you
have you watched it?
No, I haven't.
Well, then why would you say that?
Well, because I'm not interested in it.
Well,
you asked me.
I'm asking if you have any knowledge.
It's like some financial shoot.
Apparently, Walton Goggins showed. Hang on a second. Walton Goggins posted a picture of him in the Baby Billy costume on Instagram. And so I guess they're filming right now, which suggests that we're still not going to see it for a long time, and that bothers me a great deal because we've been waiting a long time. Why are we waiting this long for a season of Righteous
It was
Gemstones?
renewed for season 4, so yes.
I knew that. There was never any debate about that. It's just when. And why are they making us wait so damn long?
Not anytime soon.
God.
We
deserve better as a country. We deserve more.
Something
for us to sit around and talk about because I'm never going to be a Dragons person. I'm sorry.
Filming.
It's nothing. It's not helpful. Not helpful. I got to go.
Yeah, it won't be until 2025 at the earliest.
Awesome. All right. Thanks today. Are we good? Anything
I think
else?
so. There's a Matt Rife special. If I don't know why anybody Baltimore like him, but
why? What's
he did some random joke about then Baltimore was somewhat the punchline, but not really.
I was not aware of that with Matt Rife. He's not that funny.
No, he's not. That.
It's just his bit is just that he's the good-looking comedian and does crowd work. But all comedians do crowd work now. That's all. It seems like comedy is crowd work. So I've just never. He's fine. I don't have any animosity towards him.
Oh, it's the season 2 finale of Judge Steve Harvey as well.
Thank you. That is a big one
on ABC.
All right. Can we just do more Olympics? Can we just?
Unfortunately, those are over.
Damn it. Thanks today to Dan Wilcox. Thanks also to Joe Serpico as well as to Kevin Frandsen. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh my God. It's so good.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com.
We have been doing the bit where you were saying it's so good.
I know, but that's because you were leaving the pause and I was trying to fill it. I was hoping that we could get it back on track at some point.
You want to restart? You want to try?
Nope, I don't. I just want to move on.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything tomorrow? Oh God,
stuff and things.
Yeah, humming right along.
Yeah,
humming right along. We're back, baby. We're back. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners. The Maryland 5-Star, Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Cruise Maryland, Ocean City, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, the Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, the MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks, Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Birds, Duke sucks.